I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, September 18th, 2023. The time is 6 p.m. This is a regular session of the School Board of Trustees of the School City of East Chicago. The place is the Administration Building, 1401 East 144th Street, East Chicago, Indiana, 46312. Via live stream also at www.scec.k12.in.us. This is a meeting of the school board and public to conduct the school corporation business, and it is not to be considered a public community meeting. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Present.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange.
Present.
Trustee Gibson King.
Present.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Present.
And Chelsea Lott.
All right, can we please stand for the pledge, and we'll have our student body president lead us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance
Item 3, the agenda, the approval of the agenda. Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of the agenda? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the agenda 3.01.
Motion made by trustee Gomez, is there a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Smith, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange.
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. Item 4, presentation 4.01, 2024 budget presentation and hearing. Dr. Mitchell?
Yes, today is September 18th, and at this time, we're going to have a presentation of the the school budget for this year, and that presentation will be made by
Me.
me, no, that's not his name.
Mr. Dalton.
And yeah, Mr. Dalton and Ms. Simmons. Ms. Simmons just stepped out. Mr. Dalton, you can go ahead, begin.
Thank you. Thank you
Mr. Dalton,
all.
can you not only give us a little background of yourself and where you're from?
Steve Dalton, Sender Dalton is our firm. So my partners, Carl Sender, many of you have met my partner, and myself are partners in a financial firm that advises units of government like yourself. We work with about 60 units of government.
Thank you.
Every year, we get to hang out together on this public hearing night and talk about the budget for the following year. So we're talking about the 2024 proposed budget by the administration. It's been published by the notice that's sitting in front of you on the screen for this evening at 6 o'clock for the public hearing. So I'll give you a little bit of the overview of the budget that's being proposed, and then, Mr. President, then you should call when you're ready to for comments or questions from the public so that we've fulfilled the requirement of the public hearing on said budget. The 3 items I'll call your attention to are in the first column under the word budget estimate. It says 2, so the second column, I guess, is better said. The debt service fund, we're proposing a budget of $2.6 million. That happens to be the exact amount we need to make the bond payments that this school corporation is responsible for, mostly for building and capital projects. For fund number 2, education, we're proposing a budget of $28.1 million. Education money comes from the state per student. We don't get a lot of control of that. The legislature has control of how much money we get per student. We get control, I guess, of how many students show up, but they make their minds up. So we multiply those students times the amount of money that's going to come from the state per student, and we come up with a budget. The legislature did increase slightly, not as much as we would have liked, the amount that they're paying per student for education. Our teachers are paid out of the education fund. The third fund is the operations fund at $15.5 million, and this is everything else. That's not a teacher. Administration and maintenance and buses and utilities and maintenance and repairs. It's a lot of the things that can be expensive and not planned for, and we are trying to work our way through deferred maintenance in many of the buildings. You may know that the reason we have bond payments is because we attempt to borrow money for long-term capital projects, for deferred maintenance that is at a large scale, and we may do so again in the future. We're not planning any bond issuance right now. So what we try to do is put only the small repairs, maintenance, staff, and administration in this operations fund because it happens to be the fund that's the tightest. It uses property taxes. And because of the circuit breakers that were passed in 2008 by the legislature, we don't get the levy that we could use to run the school corporation. It is significantly diminished by the fact that taxpayers only have to pay 1% on their house, or 2% if you're a landlord, or 3% if you're a business. We have a lot of businesses in East Chicago, but nobody pays more than 3% of the value of their property. If they paid more, if it was closer to the tax rate, we would not have a financial problem at all in the school corporation. But the circuit breakers put us in a diminished capability of being able to keep up with our actual expenses. These budgets have been increased by 3%, 3% over the 2023 budget that we're currently living in. We know that inflation is more than 3%, so we're looking always as an administration for ways to save money, to try to live within that 3% growth factor. I'll pause, Mr. President. You could ask for questions, or you could ask questions as a board. However you would like to proceed.
Sure. I can go and ask the questions now, if that's okay with you.
Please.
Is there any questions or comments from the audience with regards to the 2024 presentation that was just made? Hearing none, do I hear any questions or comments from the board?
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez-Orange?
Yes,
Hi
ma'am.
there.
I hope you drill down to a really small line item that I don't know the answer to. That would be great. Leela will.
No, I think I already asked that when I met with Leela, but I
Okay.
still, I'll ask what I asked last year and I didn't receive at all, was the 3-year cash flow?
You don't have the cash flows? I'll send them to you. I think we actually handed them out at the last board meeting when we were all together. So I'll make sure you get the cash flows.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that was one thing. The second thing was, I did talk to Dr. Mitchell as well as Ms. Simmons. So I know this is $2 million less than what it was before, and we had a conversation about, I just asked them about our teachers. We're eventually going to have to get them at a 50,000 starting rate, and right now, we're at this, if we add all the monies, when I talked to Ms. Simmons, she stated that we would still be underneath that 48 million from last year. So I don't know if you have a different concept, and I know Dr. Mitchell has his whole, his explanation of why we're not adding it on, but, and I know for the state wants to see that we can keep continuously the same monies. And right now, we have an opportunity where we could make it happen and still be underneath that 48 million from previous. So I don't know, maybe you had a reasoning as to why that wasn't added on?
Let me speak. I think what you're asking is, why don't we just increase everybody now? Would that be the
Since
succinct?
we are below the 48 million from last year.
So one of the reasons we're below the 48 million from last year is because we paid off some bonds.
Okay,
So we don't need as much for debt service. So although the funds kind of add up to 48 million last year and 46 million this year, the biggest difference really is the bonds are less expensive and therefore less of a tax rate to the taxpayers because bonds have their own tax rate. That's the biggest difference. We did increase the education fund as a standalone to the amount that equaled the budget. I can't speak to whether or not that includes all of the raises to the level required by the state. Leela would have to speak to that, but I think we're trying to get there over time.
okay. I mean, it makes sense when you're saying that the bonds were,
We paid off, the good news, we're paying off bonds.
yeah, okay,
That's it, decreasing the tax rate, which, by the way, has a good effect on not only our circuit breaker, but the cities and the townships and the counties as well.
okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just want to ask a question. You say we paid off bonds. Do we have one bond that's not paid off?
We have multiple bonds that are not paid off. We paid off our oldest bond.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
You should have showed that in the tax flow, the cash flow.
We'll show that in the cash flows.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, you can proceed, sir.
I have no other details on the budget to prepare for you, Mr. President. I don't know what's next on the agenda. We could probably speak to capital plan and bus plan, but I don't know if that's next.
Okay. So at this time, we're closed?
I'm good.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close
Thank you.
this public session, this public hearing, and proceed with the agenda. Item 5, consent agenda.
Chairman, I just want to make sure, can you put on record where you're going to place all this at? Because I know we've had issues previously before, so the website, the newspaper, anything, just so you can put it on public record also.
Okay. Trustee Hernandez-Orange, you just made that comment, so we'll make sure that gets done.
So Ms. Simmons stated that it's already on the website, and then we do place it on the newspaper, correct?
We know how long I have to.
Okay, so just
Just a-
solely on the website?
And the state's website, right?
Okay,
Okay. All right. So we're in compliance, pretty
sounds good.
much. All right, perfect. Okay. Item 5, the consent agenda. Is there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 5, which consists of 5.01 minutes for executive session, May 26, executive session, June 2nd, 2023, and regular board meeting on June 5th. Item 502, claim dockets, 5.03, personnel report, 5.04, distribution of payroll, and 5.05, donation, as well as 5.06, fundraiser.
Mr. President, I make a motion
Trustee Gomez?
to approve
A motion made by trustee
consent
Gomez.
agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Smith. Is there any question, or is there any questions or comments at this time from the board?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
two things. One, the personnel report, I don't know how we tighten that up where we don't have to get it, you know, changes in the morning, or I just like would have it tightened up, and whoever is not getting that information to our superintendent to give to us, if we could just get that together. And it looks like it's the same location, so something must be happening at that location. But that's number one. Number two, just to be compliant with anything in regards to food, maybe we state that it's vouchers that are being passed out? Is that how, for any goods or anything like that? Rather, so students for fundraisers could say they are purchasing vouchers and then eventually they get it? I think Mr. De Leon could speak on that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because I think that was one of my questions as well.
Yeah,
is
one of
how
the-
we providing service, or how are we providing the food to the kids, knowing that we're within the state?
No, absolutely. Mr. President, there was a memo, request to do a fundraiser with one of the local community bakeries. And so they're going to be offering goods in the form of cookies and other confectionaries, I think. Inside of that, it'll be sealed, but they're requesting to sell it during the lunch hour, which is in violation of USDA guidelines. And so what I'm proposing is that we actually sell the vouchers or tickets so that they can redeem those items at the end of the school day. So that's the clarification that, that I would like. That's in line with the guidance that I got from our local or our regional support person from Indiana, Department of Education and Nutrition.
Are we asking to amend that then to?
Yes, so just amend it so that we're not selling during the school, that we're not selling the actual food, but we're just selling vouchers so that they can redeem the food after school. That way we're not presenting a competitive product during the lunch hour.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the
Yep.
board?
Just to add to that, so because now there's, I mean, and I don't know if we could see what it's supposed to look like, what it exactly says. Because we do have a good amount of people who do fundraisers that are for food. So because of that, we probably need to have some type of guidelines for our ECAs so that they could know exactly what can and cannot be sold and how it can be sold. And I know it's a percentage, correct? If I'm not, I thought it was a percentage that could be sold food-wise. But with that, if we could present ECAs with guidelines?
So doing the guidelines won't be a problem, and I'll definitely work with Mr. De Leon to address that to make sure that we're in compliance with whenever there is a fundraiser that involves food, or even anyone coming onto grounds with food. We know we can't have competitive items, and we'll make sure that we put something in place to mitigate that.
Madam Secretary, is there any other, first of all, is there any other discussions with the board with regards to the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Mr. Gomez?
under personnel report, on page 1, 2 items. 3507, that position is, excuse me, is filled here, but that creates a vacancy. how is that vacancy being treated?
Trustee Gomez, what page is that on?
3507, page 1. It's the top line, first line item.
Oh, there's no vacancy being created with that.
What number did you say?
Yeah, 3507, no, there's the top one. Yeah, there's no vacancy. That was a job change, that additional duties was added. And the name and the title was changed to address those additional duties. That particular position there was a position, that position was being done, and she was receiving a voucher to do the second part. We put them together to ensure that we had someone every year to be able to do those duties that are required by the state.
Is there a position with that job title in it?
During the last board meeting, the board created that job position.
So then, the job description was listed in there and the pay salary?
Yes, job description and pay salary was given.
Okay, now 3495, going down about 5 items. Who will both of these individuals be reporting to? 3495.
Yes, 3495, yes, that position was born by, that position was vacant for a little bit over a year. And so we filled that position. We had interviews over the past, I guess we started interviewing in December. We had 3 rounds of interviews. At the 3rd round, we finally found someone that was qualified.
I'm asking who that person reports to.
That person reports to the superintendent.
And 3507? Who do they report to?
Reports to the Director of Information Technology.
And then page 4. Doc number 7084.
Yes,
I'm looking at these line items, and as I look through it under professional development, I see, there are people here who are, teachers who are getting stipends for extra duty. And this one here, I guess the problem I have here is that the other ones are given like definite task, if you will. This one is simply for, as I'm reading it, simply for observing people in the buildings. How does that qualify for extra duty pay?
no, that was for more than observing people in a building. That person served as a project manager, also served as doing some procurement for us with contractors, as well as working with, being the communication liaison between the union, administration, as well as the district office. He did that for a period of time so that we can have a really strong start to this school year. That position was a term position. Those duties were term duties, and it ends on September 30th.
It's not spelled out here as you're explaining it, and I personally have an issue with that. I want to make a motion to amend the consent agenda by removing that item until I have some more information that I can cast the vote on. So the motion is to approve the consent agenda with the amendment of removing doc number 7084 from the personnel report.
Motion made by trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second made by trustee Gibson King. Is there any comments from the audience on the amended motion that was made by trustee Gomez? Ma'am, I'm sorry, can you step to podium, state your name and your address?
Sherry Adams, 443 East Chicago Avenue. I'd like to try to understand what trustee Gomez didn't understand about what Dr. Mitchell said, because it made sense to me, and I don't even have it on my paperwork. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Secretary, roll call for the amended motion by trustee Gomez.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
No.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
No. Okay,
Question two, Mr. President, about the personnel report, may I,
sure.
yeah, item number, let's see here. Look like it's, A001. I just want to ask, the position was, Mr. Mitchell, the position was changed from a permanent sub to the EP. What's EP?
Those are emergency permit teachers. She was
Oh,
moved from
emergency,
a long-term sub position because she didn't have her EP. She did meet the qualifications for the EP, so we changed her from long-term sub to a teacher. As an EP, she is part of the teachers' union, and she gets full benefits of being a part of
So she
being
has-
recognized by the state as a teacher, yes.
So she has an emergency permit, but how long does this permit supposed to last?
Emergency permits go year to year.
From year-
However, Ms. Flynn, she's right at the end of her education. She has that. She just has to pass the praxis.
Soon, she got pressed soon.
She has, well, we can't say what it is. I would hope that she would pass it soon, but it's a high, the praxis is as a test that you have to pass to become a licensed teacher. She's taken it. Many of our teachers have struggled with that, and that's why we provide additional supports to ensure, to give them the greatest probability of passing that test so they can become fully licensed teachers.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is there any other discussions from the board with regard to the approval of the amended consent agenda?
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
Yes, so we are now there's a removal of that item at the stipend, correct? And then we also have the additional language change for the ECA for Spanish Club, correct? I just want to make sure what we have so far.
Okay.
Because I'm going to actually ask to have removed another item in the claim docket. And that's on page 7,
Claim docket, you say?
correct? And the item number, the check number is 113563. This individual did not attend the meeting, but yet we're approving a check.
What page?
What page, Vanessa?
It's page 7.
And what number was it?
Page number 7, item 113563.
Oh, okay.
So if the person did not attend an agenda, then, or attend the actual conference, then they should never have received a check for the per diem. So with that being said, if we could have it removed. And I know our policy states that we need to say we need to cancel pretty much in advance, so this check probably didn't have to go out if it was abided by.
So what's the problem?
So if we could remove it, is what,
You gonna defend it?
All right, so there's a motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange for item 113563 to be removed. Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion has died. Any other discussion?
No. No, I'm sorry.
If I can just add just a note, I did see him at the conference.
The text message states that he did not attend the conference, and if it's the case that he attended one day or 2 days, that means that
Unless that
amount is
person-
different.
Unless that person is willing to come forward, but I did see him at the conference. I
so.
mean, that's my testimony because I was there.
So then, the text message we received is that the individual was at work on a certain day. So either we're working or we're at the conference.
Okay, so, and I guess that'll be a discussion between that individual and the secretary on how that would work out. But I think with State Board of Accounts, and that's something that we need to look at. And it isn't me, but what the State Board of Accounts does allow is that a stipend be given for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for conferences early on. So we can write a check to whoever's attending conferences, whether it's teachers, administrators, it doesn't matter. But they do have to show their attendance, and I agree with you. But I think that's something that would be addressed between that individual and the secretary.
I think it's our
Only because the
community.
check's already been made. And the person was there at the conference, one of the days that I seen him.
But if it's one of the days and that amount is not correct.
I'm not gonna get into it because that's between that individual and the secretary as to whether he's willing to, or she is willing to give that money back to the secretary. All right, moving forward. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, let's go ahead and, Madam Secretary, roll call for the amended consent agenda approval.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Absolutely not.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6, old business. 6.01, approval of policies for second reading. Attorney Snow?
It is my understanding that there may be a motion to table discussion on these, or was there not? If not, then we'll move into reading the policies.
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
I'd like to have these tabled. Some of our board members, one, did not receive the revised policy at one point in time. And I think we should be able to review it. And I think how the policy committee wanted it is that you review and you give your information and then move forward.
Yeah, so I believe, Chairman Gomez, to my understanding, you're willing to table these policies. I believe that you had a meeting on Thursday, which our agenda, and setting up our agenda ended on Wednesday, so there was some, plus we have over 20 items set for the agenda. So to my understanding, are you willing to table these till the next meeting?
Yeah, Mr. President, we had discussion this morning, or this afternoon about that. Yeah, I did want to table it. I don't know if the correct procedure, though, would be to address the audience first and then bring it to the board.
Okay, so the motion is made by, was that your
Yep,
motion?
that's my motion.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Hernandez Orange and seconded by Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Okay, is there any comments from the audience regarding the tabling of the consent agenda, the policies for old reading, for old business, from old business? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call for the table of the
Trustee
policies.
Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 7, new business, 7.01, approval for proposal of realignment of the School City of East Chicago's fitness center.
Yes, the,
Superintendent?
this is a proposal to reorganize the fitness center to fall up under the Department of Athletics. In talks with the Foundations of East Chicago it was communicated to us that they will not be funding the fitness center going forward. Based on that, we wanted to ensure that we maintain the operations of the fitness center for the benefit of our students as well as the community. With this realignment, it gives greater direction and oversight of that fitness center, bringing it in line with the other departments and directors that's in the district, therefore allowing us to take full advantage of not only the benefits of having operations up under one umbrella, but also the finance and personnel and everything else. This will ensure that going forward into the future that we have a really great process and procedures in place that will allow us to continue to function with no interruptions from an outside entity. If so be it that someone else comes on board, we do have a structure already in place that they would just plug right into, and therefore we still wouldn't have any outside interference.
Are there any comments from the audience with regards to the approval of, or for proposal for the realignment of the School City of East Chicago's Fitness Center?
Sherry Adams, 443 East Chicago Avenue. My initial comment is, praise God that it's even being mentioned. I so appreciate, y'all arrest me today if you're going to, but I appreciate Trustee Orange in the last session bringing it up and speaking about it. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Mitchell for taking the time to bring it up, mention it, and at least discuss a format of change and progress for that fitness center. It has been in a chokehold by the Foundations of East Chicago for far too long. I don't care who's friends with whom. When you all are voted into these seats, when you come to your meetings and you sit in those chairs, you don't have any friends. You don't have any political friends. You don't have any casual friends. Your singular job when you sit in that seat is to do what's best for these kids and what's best for the school city. And so I'm imploring you all to please keep that in mind first and foremost. I'm still at that fitness center. I still go there. I still work out there. One of the guys who was cut off at the knees by the Foundations, he still comes and works out. I'm observing him as those kids are still coming up to him asking for his help. And that's Isaiah Smith. And he's such a good person that he doesn't turn those kids down. He still helps them. I'm also standing here for Jerome Buchanan, who's also one of the hardest working guys there at that fitness center. And I'm so glad I could shout at even the proposal of changes being made. I'm still coming to every meeting until this work is complete at this fitness center, until everything negative, until every political thug, until every political gangbanger is taken up out that fitness center and has nothing to do with it. You don't get to take monies that you oversee and threaten people with it. It's not what this is there for. And you're not doing your job when you do stuff like that. Get the Foundations out of there and keep them out. And I will be grateful for the day and pray I could participate the day that that is done, and I could take a fresh razor blade and scrape off that little sign on that door in the cardio room that says, funded by the Foundations of East Chicago. Can't wait to scrape it off. Please let me have that honor. Thank you.
Is there any other comments from the audience? Here. Yes.
How you all doing? Catherine Smith, 2915 East 141st Street, East Chicago, Indiana. So I have a comment, but I also as well have question. So if the foundation no longer is going to support, and anyone who has ever been to the fitness center or even come through East Chicago understands, there were 3 pillar individuals collectively over 40 years worth of service. How did we decide to eradicate certain positions and not all of the positions, if anything? The next question, that's one question. My next question is, I came here and I listened to the previous power, said the reason being for their positions no longer was because of experience, degrees, and that was it. That was the only thing. We saw one of the pillars come up here and state, the only thing that can match education is experience. So with 25 years of service and experience there, every professional athlete that has ever come out of East Chicago, Indiana, has utilized that gym. We have professional decorated with certificates, degrees, everything directly there. If you go and you just look on the occupational handbook, even though it's dated, see how much it costs for a professional athletic training, and you tell me. I am a coach in this city, for the youth, and I'm telling you, I know what I pay for my son just to train basketball. So we're talking about for the full body, which comes with dietary works, as well as a structured, tailored plan. What we are paying them is still underpaid. So at what point and how is it do we define that we no longer need that in the city when we do a heavy push of food, nutrition, everything inside? We took the pop machines out for the schools, different things like that. But we have those 2 sources. Why was the transition, and I thank you for bringing this proposal, why was the transition not already shift to say at the bare bone minimum, before we let you go, we're going to let the board say it or whoever's in power. If it says School City of East Chicago Fitness Center, how was the payroll even split in the beginning? So what we see is a disconnect somewhere. But you can't, that's just like us saying on a humbug, trustee, doctor, whatever your titles are, we're going to get rid of you and we're going to let it lie dormant. We need that in this city. So who's training the kids? In respect to everyone who's given their educated knowledge of experience, but we have professionals here. What are we going to do about the individuals that lost their positions? That's all I have. Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Antonio Garcia, 4120 Hemlock Street. I just came from the fitness center, and guys, I mean, the roof is still leaking. My brother Isaiah and Jerome Buchanan, they're still out of jobs. I was here by the end of July, inquiring about the same question, what's going on. Mr. Gomez and the attorney that sits in that corner, he's not here today. They approached me after that meeting at the end of July and say, hey, we're just waiting on some approvals by the new superintendent to be signed over, but nothing happened. I mean, I've been asking my brother what's going on. That's why I'm back here asking you guys, like, we need to come with a decision. And these guys been without jobs for a couple months now. We need to do something about it, to be honest. And yeah, I'm just seeking answers. I want answers, just not for my brothers, for myself. I mean, these guys have helped me so much in my fitness journey and spiritual journey. I just want to see them do good, and you guys do good by them. They've been helping out the kids at the school. I graduated 2012. They've always been there helping me out. So I just want some answers, guys. Thank you.
The audience? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 7.01?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve 7.01.
Motion made by trustee Gibson King. Is there a second? Second made by trustee Gomez. Is there any discussion?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
so I'm going to be the bad guy. because I'm going to say, what proposal of organizational change? So I would assume that we would have had I understand there's going to be a proposal of what it should look like, right? Yes. But why wasn't it presented to us and how it's supposed to happen? So again, we're doing what we used to do where we put the cart before the horse. So we're saying we're going to do this, but yet we haven't seen it. I thought today that's what we were going to do, like see the plan, how it's supposed to look. I know we discussed about having somebody be in the athletic, or in the weight room. They're going to be in charge, but they're going to be under the superintendent. I know that. Where's the funding coming from? Are we now going to be able to keep all the equipment even though foundations is totally out? What is it going to look like? Because now we have the people who are after hours who are community members. I know the conversation at one point was, can we still pay for individuals from our school city money if it's not for children after hours? I think those are all the questions that I have. And honestly, I thought that today this is what this was going to be. So we'd have a organizational chart of what it's supposed to look like, from the athletic director to however other people we're hiring, so forth and so on. So yes, I do agree. I think I've been very adamant about getting something done. I have mentioned it various times, but I'm also not one to just say, okay, just because. I would like to know what happens. Do we have enough money to make sure that these individuals are going to have jobs? How much are they going to get paid? What's the job description going to be? How long can we sustain that? Those are all things that we should know before we approve. That's just my opinion, and maybe you could answer all that. And if you can't, I ask that we table this, have a special session possibly, and get this done this week, but with a work session in between, just because I think being board members, being fiscally responsible, as well as just being responsible beings, we should have that plan.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Hernandez Orange, trustee Hernandez Orange, with regards to that. But I'm also going to say this, and you've stated earlier today, 25 years the foundation has been supporting these individuals. So has it been part of our budget? Has it been part of pretty much our annual budget, right? Also, too, or it could have been longer. I don't know how many years it was. Short, was it shorter? Okay, okay. The second thing is when we talk about the realignment, and I think, and I'm pretty sure our superintendent's going to mention more about it, but we're basically talking about who's actually managing the facility within the school city of East Chicago. We've always had the benefits from the foundation of East Chicago. Another thing is where you stated whether the foundation is completely out. They're not fully out because they still fund our equipment. So the question is, can we as school cities show a structured ground in terms of where we're headed with this fitness center and repropose? Yeah, we surely can. So let's not count them out. Let's just show them that we're willing to structure in a more common way to show that, hey, we can be responsible. Now, I know that there's deadlines and timelines and there were endpoints, but it wasn't our fault. You see, because we sort of inherited that conversation with the foundation, yet we were willing to accept it.
We did accept it.
And we did accept it
We did.
through this board.
Yes, we did.
And I believe you were acting chair at the time.
That's right, I was sitting right there.
So now that we're past that, I think, and we've had resubmit to the foundation, I think the next step now is we still need to have control over this fitness center in a way where it makes sense.
But you won't as long as
Mr. President?
Now, Trustee Gomez?
I actually read this letter and with skepticism, but I think Dr. Mitchell's right on point with what he wrote. And so I would agree that with his analysis that this is, and maybe Dr. Mitchell can speak a little bit more to this, but this is a simple position reporting structure. It's not anything to do with funding or whatever. It is an individual that we are, I'll let Dr. Mitchell continue, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
So with the fitness center realignment, right? The history of the fitness center was always governed by a tertiary party. That was not even the foundation. They hired another organization to operate and manage the fitness center, which meant that the responsibility shifted from the school city of East Chicago past the fitness center to another organization. That other organization was responsible for the hiring and firing of the individuals there, as well as some other operational type things. That right there, to me, I thought was really out of order from an organizational perspective, that if you are going to have a facility or a building and be responsible, well, be accountable for the operation and management of that, then you should have it in a structure where you can see where the operation and management takes place. This realignment says that, okay, that third party is out, the foundations may or may not fund. It doesn't, happens whether they fund anything or not. This brings that structure up under something that the school city of East Chicago will have direct input into. So that means that the fitness center, whoever operates that fitness center, will report up to athletics. And in athletics, because the fitness center is closely tied to athletics and wellness, and part of it is internal, the other part is external facing. At least that way, we do have control over day-to-day operations. We know who the staffing is, because they will all report up to the Department of Athletics, whoever is in that position. At that point, we're able to ensure that we have the proper insurances, and that is not only assurances, but insurances. So we engaged our insurance company to make sure that not only can we cover the property, but we can also cover the employees, and we can also cover any liabilities that may come from someone from the outside visiting the facility. This is what this particular proposal captures. Now that it will be up under the auspices of the school city of East Chicago, governed by this board, now we can go ahead and add the other pieces to it to ensure that we have proper staffing, proper management, and proper controls in place to ensure that we have the right infrastructure. Because again, up under the management and operations of the foundations, I think a lot was given to them, whether direct or indirect, for also maintaining that building. So the building has gone since its inception with deferred maintenance. It's not safe in some places. And so we have to get total control over that, and actually, we don't even have access to all of the doors inside of the facility because locks were changed. Again, we have to, if we're going to manage a building and be responsible and accountable for it, then we need to control the entire piece. That's all this proposal presents. And then we can take the next step to put the other pieces in place to ensure that we have the great staff that this community has become accustomed with, and we can continue to grow and operate.
Yeah. So definitely clarifying that, because when it said organizational change, I thought there should be like a organizational entire change. So right now, just to clarify, the only employee that the school city of East Chicago has for the weight room is one individual, and I'm sure we all know, and I want to name names. And that individual is now going to report to our athletic director, and he will now follow all the rules that are going to be in place for every other individual, as in the Time Pro, all that good stuff that everyone else has to go through. Am I correct in saying that? And then you're going to come back with an actual proposed org chart of what it should look like, and all the questions that I asked will be given.
That is true, and currently I'm working with the attorneys also to ensure that we have other documentation in place to make sure that we have things aligned. Again, I just want to make sure that we have things, I'm going to say this is how I was raised, that things need to be proper, decent, and in order, and right now they're not.
Okay.
So we're trying to get it all under control so that we can do the right thing and the best thing for our faculty, staff, students, and community.
President?
Trustee Gomez?
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. I would also just have one question. The reporting structure prior to this being presented to us, how did that look?
Well, from the documents that I had at my disposal, the fitness center appeared to report to the foundations. I didn't see any clear reporting lines to the school city of East Chicago. Now, it was supposed to happen, but I think it was so loose and not enforced that, even just recently, there was things that may or may not have happened that was not reported to this administration, and that's a cause for alarm.
And I agree with you, and I was on the foundations many, many years ago, and I know how they operate, so, and I knew how this endeavor started with good intentions, but I think more recently it got a little sideways. I do not want to bite the hand that feeds us, though, on the other hand, and they have to understand that this is a board decision about a school city employee and not about the foundations. So I just want to make clear that there was, in fact, no reporting structure. To our knowledge, there seemed to be no reporting structure prior to this. So I applaud Dr. Mitchell for putting this together. Thank you. Mr. President, call for.
Excuse me, may I make one quick last public comment?
Trustee Gomez called for the vote.
Yes.
Ma'am, you have a chance to speak at the end of the he called for the vote, so we're going to have to vote on it. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Dr. Mitchell and Trustee Gomez, and I'm really glad to see this proposal of realignment. As they said, everything was out of whack. There was no policies and procedures put in place, and I thank you for taking the time to put this program together. And I'm sure I'm not going to worry about how it's going to get paid, because I know that our interim superintendent is going to find a way for monies to come in here to pay for this, because he has that intelligence to write a grant to make sure that we follow through and everything will be done proper and in order. So thank you, Dr. Mitchell. It's not about money right now. It's like getting things in order. And things must be done decent in order before you can take the next step. So thank you. This will be done, I'm without a shadow of a doubt. With the interim superintendent and the knowledge of him getting grants, I'm giving him his accolades now so he can start working and getting this program off the ground the way it should be done. Thank you.
And again, we want to thank the audience too, because as well as our community, because you guys are the ones that sort of brought it to our attention in a more broader perspective. So we talk about conversation, but let's have serious conversations. Let's have some real conversations. Let's know who the players are. Let's know who these employees are really doing a job. It was you guys that brought it to our attention. So I think the first step right now, I think I'm going to follow his lead since he has a doctorate degree and I don't. But I'm going to follow his lead, and I tell you what, I think you're going to see some really good progress in our fitness center. So I believe we had a motion and a second already, correct? Okay, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.02, approval of resolution 2023-06, declaring intent to reimburse expenditure. Dr. Mitchell.
Yeah, this is a general obligation bond, and this bond is not to exceed an amount of $6 million. It's for the high school gymnasium, purchasing multiple buses, the HVAC system, as well as other capital projects related to the facilities, operational facilities here at the School City of East Chicago.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of Resolution 2023-06, declaring intent to reimburse expenditures. Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board to approve item 7.02?
Make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Smith,
Second.
second by trustee Gomez. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez Orange,
Yes.
trustee Gibson King,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. 7.03, approval of Tri-Electronics, Inc. quote.
Yes.
Dr. Mitchell.
Yeah, the Tri-Electronics, at one of our schools, we had the security systems where you come in to scan individuals. They were, the first round, that there was kind of an arrangement that we had with the entity within the city. Somehow, one of those units became, it malfunctioned. And so we realized that instead of relying on someone else to provide security and safety for our students, that we would do it ourselves. And what we agreed to do was to put in our own security systems that would be permanent, that wouldn't be moved, so we wouldn't have to worry about these scanners being taken from one place to another. They will be there to serve the purpose that they are, and that is to keep our students safe. Right now, we have a couple of them on loan at the school from the actual provider. Once the equipment is procured and delivered, they will be installed. This proposal is to purchase those to ensure that we have what we need at our school buildings.
Are there any comments from the audience in regards to the approval of Tri-Electronics, Inc. quote? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.03?
Chairman, I make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Smith. Is there any discussion?
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I wanted to just say, first off, thank you to the East Chicago Police Department, as they are the ones who allowed us to use the machine, and it's unfortunate for them that during the Music Fest, it broke, and it's almost as much money as purchasing a brand-new one. So, but I thank them for their cooperation, as well as the partnership with the schools, while working for the school, for the city, there was an instance where we needed to use it, and the city acted swiftly in allowing us to do that. So I hope that continued relationship happens.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez Orange,
Yes.
trustee Gibson King,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. 7.04, approval of Reading Horizons quote. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, this Reading Horizons is one of the vendors that's recommended by the Indiana Department of Education for the new Science of Reading curriculum that was put out in legislation. This particular program will be funded by Title I funds and used by the Title I interventionists on a pilot basis. And this is really for us to really ascertain the effectiveness of this for us to make the best decision on whether or not we will implement this particular vendor and their curriculum into our school district. I think that for far too long, we've been going blindly, just accepting whatever vendor comes in and without any accountability or any outcomes. With this, we're going to look to make sure that this vendor can deliver on outcomes before we purchase a full system. So this is a pilot that will only be piloted with 4 of our interventionists for the remainder of the year, so we can really get a really good grasp on whether or not this is going to be effective for the remainder of our students.
Okay, is there any comments from the audience? Excuse me, one second. With the approval of the Horizons quote. Please state your name and address for the record.
Helen Steinbach, 5207 East 73rd Avenue, Maryville, Indiana. 4 interventionists are piloting the program, and at what building would that be? And are the teachers going to have any input as to whether the program is something that we want?
Yes, this will be piloted at each of the schools that have the Science of Reading coaches. And I'm not exactly sure which of those schools have them right offhand right now, but there's 4 of them. And yes, the teachers will have input in this as we go forward. Now, with the 4 interventionists, they will be extensively trained with this particular project and program, and they're focused on, like I said, the Tier 3 students. To answer your question, this is for, I believe they're focusing on the early elementary level. And so that will be 300 students, so I believe that would be multiple schools. Yes.
Is there any other comments from the audience regarding the approval of Reading Horizons quote? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board?
Mr. President, I move for approval of 7.04.
Motion made by trustee Gomez, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second made by trustee Gibson King, is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Trustee Gomez.
there was the reverse side of this document shows that this is option C. How many options were available? What were they? How much different were they?
Okay, this program, well, it was several options. I think the greatest option was, we really couldn't put a price on it because it was per license, per student, per subject area, different things. And I think when I sat down with them, one of their options came up to almost $2.5 million. And that was something that I was not willing to commit this district to without knowing and having absolute data and facts saying that this will actually work for our student and our population. That's why I elected, along with the Director of Curriculum for Elementary, to do a pilot so we can see whether or not there's going to be meaningful gains and benefit to our district. So yes, if we would have done the full option A, I believe it was somewhere upwards of maybe $2 million or so. And this is for, of course, the amount of, I think it's $79,000.
So I'm assuming that because this is a $80,000 investment, that we're going to review this at the end of, the expiration of this contract, correct?
We will be reviewing it throughout. We will utilize some outcomes-based, all right? So it will be formative evaluation throughout. Again, being a systems guy, I truly believe in evaluation and assessments, and I think that for far too long with many of our systems, we haven't been assessing them, see if they have been productive or effective for the task that we will want them to do. And that's not only for our instructional systems, that's also for our information systems.
I like the way you think about the systems, and I agree with you. That's why I challenged the documents. So if we were to get beyond this point and this proved to be successful, then what?
If we get beyond this point and it proves to be successful, then we would go ahead and bring all the stakeholders together. There will be a presentation to the community so they can show what their data is, how that data works. You all can see how the system works, and then we'll go forward from that. Again, if we're going to change to move the needle in this district, we have to have everyone buy in and be able to take ownership of what's going on. I think that there's been many cases where things have been implemented, been purchased, been acted upon, and there was no buy-in. And when the next person comes in or the next new pretty shiny thing comes, the district changes. I think that we have to really find ourselves and put ourselves in a position where we're going to be able to sustain and also maintain some level of consistency with the things that we implement so that we can actually see the value that they may return. I don't believe we've seen the value of many things that we purchased.
I guess the other question I have then is, so we would start this immediately, or obviously there's some professional development tied into this?
Yes, this will begin this will begin immediately. I believe that, that this is cloud-centric, so everything is already up in the cloud. It's just a matter of getting our faculty and staff acclimated, and then having the training, of course, and then the implementation in the classroom.
And is it, I know this may be new to you, and I wish she was here to answer the question, but is there enough time between now and the end of the school year to evaluate this program effectively?
Yes, as I said, we'll be doing formative evaluation, and then at the end of the school year, we'll do a summative evaluation to take all that data in from over time. And I'm quite sure that the teachers are also, again, we must have the teachers involved in this, and they have to believe in it also, right? And the worst thing that we can do is to adopt something and no one believes in it. We want to make sure that people believe in what it is that we're putting forth, and that if it's good, then it's good. The data will show that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.05, approval of MOU with AmeriCorps Foster Grandparent Program.
Yes, this AmeriCorps Foster Grandparent Program, I believe that the board was familiar with this when we brought forth the AARP program. This program is for grandparents. The principal at McKinley Elementary has a number of grandparents that volunteer regularly, and so when she heard about it, she jumped on this and actually worked with the AmeriCorps program to get all the information that was needed. It went to the attorney for review over the contract. I think the contract was changed from a 3-year contract to a 1-year contract, as that gives us a little bit more control and an option to either elect to continue or to sever ourselves within a short period of time. So we recommend that this program also be added to our battery of program and of volunteers that we have working in our community to really provide additional resources and mentoring support to our students.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with AmeriCorps Foster Grandparent Program? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board to approve item 7.05?
I make a motion, Mr. President.
Motion made by trustee Gibson King. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Is there any discussion?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
just to clarify, not all the board knew about this program previous to the meeting that we had last week. Last week was the first time I've ever heard of it. The second thing was, if I want to take part, so I was told, rumor, I'm not sure, that this program only pays like minimum wage to the people participating, but yet the AARP pays a different amount. So if I'm a grandparent and I want to, let's say, partake in both programs, can I do that? Is that possible?
My
It's
understanding.
basically the same thing, right?
Well,
Except for one pays more than the other?
I can't say that they're the same thing. I think that they're going to serve a similar population. But to answer your question, I will reach out to the leadership at AmeriCorps and the leadership at AARP to see if someone can take advantage of both programs. Yes, there is a difference in pay between those programs, but the pay is nominal. Like I said, I will reach out to them to see if that's a possibility. I think just from employment law that you can't get paid for the same job by 2 different entities. But I don't know, this is more of kind of a stipend base, and it may work a little bit different, but I will investigate that and get back with you.
And I just don't want us to look bad with this group if they don't get as many individuals as we thought they would, because of the fact that we have already partnered with the AARP, and they're paying more, so why would we, I just don't want us to look bad to them.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Smith?
I'm sorry, on page 202 of 5, it says, coordinate with other volunteers and aging programs in the area to foster effective communication to avoid duplication. So when I saw that, and I do understand that the AARP, hopefully that they will be able to work together with this so that the program wouldn't be duplicated. I'm really interested in this, well, AARP, I'm interested in that also, but I like the idea of their policies and their procedures. I'm not gonna say I don't like AARP, but as long as they're not duplicating, and once you find out the actual descriptions of what they will be doing and the pay, I think it's a very good program.
Any other
It's
discussion?
also my understanding too that when you go, if you're a senior, some people, if at the age 67, 68, they can make as much money. Then you may have some that's 55 that's got to make a certain amount of money. So somebody can opt to go on the $4 program, and then some can go on the $7. So, you know, it has that advantage too. But I think that these programs are a need for our children because we don't have to pay anything. They're coming in to us to do whatever services that they can to help our children. That's what they're doing.
Any other dis-
Chairman, well,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
this is to Mr. Snow. So I know in regards to our procedures that we have for anyone who comes in, and I want to make sure that the language was what you needed to make sure that we're in compliance with our procedures. And I want to say it's number 1.
Number 1 under the
I don't know if it's that, or, I mean, I don't know.
WICA's responsibilities, which page are you on?
I'm on literally page number 1, but I'm saying,
Page number
are
one.
does the language in there, is it okay to your understanding and best ability to know that if I'm a volunteer through this program, I'm going to get a background check and all that good stuff that's needed for employment?
Yes.
That's a good question.
I will have to, I did review this agreement.
It doesn't say specifically that, that's what I'm saying.
I do recall, yeah, I would have to look through it a little bit. If you give me a second, I can probably find the language. I know that we did include something in here that said that they need to comply with statutory requirements to serve in the school. But I would have to find it.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Smith.
I read this, and they're only gonna take X amount of foster grandparents. It's not like that, what I'm trying to say is, even if you have the AARP and you have this one, grandparents will still have a chance to participate, because this contract is saying they're only gonna take X amount of
Okay.
recipients. Yeah.
I agree with you, and I believe what we're looking for is they still have to abide by the policies in terms of coming into our schools.
Yes, that
So
was-
on,
okay.
on page 1, paragraph 3, this is what I think, it's not very explicitly stated. I think if that's a concern for the board, we can modify that, but it says, the school corporation is referred to throughout this as the station. So it says, refer volunteers to the station and encourage the station to screen senior volunteers pursuant to the established criteria of the station. So it may be a responsibility of the school to do that. And I think that I believe that there was some concern expressed that the school may be the only one that has the ability or the authority to screen people the way that we need to screen people. So they kind of leave that to us, but it is there. It's provided for.
Okay. As long as you're good.
Yep, I am.
Good.
Any other discussions from the board?
Mr.
Hearing,
President.
Trustee Gomez?
Just so there's clarity, this is for all elementary schools, correct?
Yes.
And then just back to Attorney Snow, the page 3 of 5 there, there's blanks left there. I know it says it's open for negotiation. How does, or maybe Dr. Mitchell can explain, how does that work?
What page you on?
It's page 3 to 5.
So that's if we were paying into this program, we elected not to pay into the program. So we can provide matching funds if we wanted to or pay more, but that's not what we elected to do. We elected to use the program as is with them compensating the grandparents.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez? Yes. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.06, approval of Starbase MOU, McKinley. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, actually, McKinley was approved in a former board meeting. This is for Harrison. So Starbase is,
Oh, this was an error?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
an error.
Yeah, it should say Harrison, it says McKinley. McKinley was already approved.
Right.
So this We'll say Harrison.
Yeah, this is Harrison, yeah. So the Starbase is a program funded by the Department of Defense. Starbase actually operates out of an old facility on 15th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. They provide mentoring, STEM, engineering, and various experiences for school-aged children. And Harrison would like to participate with this. The Starbase will provide roughly 25 hours of that curriculum over a period of time for this during the school year.
Okay. Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of Starbase MOU at Harrison or for Harrison? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 7.06 as amended?
President, make a motion to approve 7.06.
Motion made by trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.07, approval of interventionist at McKinley.
Yes, this proposal is for the interventionists for English and language arts at McKinley School. The interventionists will work with teachers, instructional coaches, administration to coordinate instruction as well as remediation for identified students. This is a Title I position, and they will operate roughly 7 hours per day, 3 days a week from September to May of 2024.
Okay. Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of interventionist at McKinley? I think the person's name is Mary McGee.
Say what? Oh.
Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.07?
Mr. Chairman, before there's a motion, I do need to clarify on this one, and I apologize. There, I believe, was an oversight on this one. That was probably mine. The contract, I think, is not in our standard form. However, I will say that this is a person whose name I'm familiar with. I know she's worked with the district in the past. I understand that this is probably time sensitive. I think that if the board is satisfied with the, kind of the terms as far as the hourly work arrangements that Dr. Mitchell described, along with the hourly rate and the not-to-exceed amount and the funding source, I think that what's missing from this is generally legalese. So I think what we could do is maybe approve the contract in some substance in terms of the, the general terms and conditions, and then we can revise it to our form and present it to her. I don't like to necessarily do it that way all the time, but I think in this case, I believe that she has worked under our standard agreement before, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't just amend the form to that if the board gives us the authority to do so.
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
I would like to have the approval of item 7.07 with the suggestion or
That's fine.
from our attorney, Snow.
Okay. All right, so I believe there was, so have we made a motion yet and seconded?
So it's,
Madam Secretary?
Motion.
that's the motion.
I'm sorry?
That would have
That
been
was
the
the motion,
motion, and
okay,
then we
so-
need a second.
All right, so approval of interventionist as amended, right?
Per attorney.
7.07
No,
per
yes.
attorney's, okay.
And I'll second it.
A second made by, or motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange, seconded by trustee Gibson King. Is there any discussion at this time? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on.
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.08, approval of 4-imprint grant at McKinley. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, President Rodriguez, I don't believe I have this grant in my packet.
Where you want mine?
Yeah, I just need,
I got pen and paper.
all right, I'll get it right.
She's our paper person, by the way.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm not sure how, I must, all right, so the 4-imprint grant, this grant is for $500 from 4-imprint. That's an online supply company that does various things, and this grant will support supply, stationery, awards, and other incentives for participants in the Boys and Girls Mentoring Program at McKinley Elementary. Thank you.
Are there any comments from the audience with regards to approval of 4-imprint grant at McKinley? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.08?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez
I'd like
Orange.
to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second made by trustee Gibson King. Is there any discussion?
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I know the originator of, or the individual who actually went for the grant is here in the audience, and I'd just like to say I love when I see teachers go out and make their connections with individuals. Same thing, Ms. Steinbeck, I know she ended up getting some grant help or donations also, and I love to see that it's out there and to go the extra mile. That's great.
Excellent. Is there any other discussion from the board? Hearing none, do I hear Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on.
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.09, approval of MOU with Northwest Indiana Food Council. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, this particular MOU was between the School City of Chicago and Northwest Indiana Food Council. The services that this community partner will provide is farm-to-school resources, farm-to-school activities, the other school-wide needs and assessments, school garden, connect local farmers with schools, as well as partnerships with Purdue and the food bank to extend access of nutritional options for our students and families. I believe that this is a wonderful program that will benefit the health and wellness of our community.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with NWI Food Council? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board to approve item 7.09?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez
I'd
Orange.
like to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Smith. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on.
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.10, approval of MOU with HealthLink, Inc. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, HealthLink is another one of our community partners, and this MOU goes over them helping us with health fairs, mobile unit events, educational sessions, as well as screenings for our students at the school's request and other activities. HealthLink has been a partner with East Chicago Schools for quite a bit of time, and I think that this is worthwhile, again, for the health and wellness of our students.
Is there any comments from the audience with regards to the approval of MOU with HealthLink, Inc.? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.10?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Smith. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.11, approval of MOU with Mental Health America of Northwest Indiana, Ready to Soar program. Dr. Mitchell.
Again, Mental Health America of Northwest Indiana is another one of our community partners. And by the way, as I'm saying this, these community partners are all affiliated with our parent cafe at Kerry Gosh. They're also going to our other schools also. Just want to make a point of clarification there. This Mental Health America, they are agreeing to provide services at Kerry Gosh to establish relationships with business and communities. They've also are partnering with us to help us write grants in that area for Kerry Gosh, as well as provide orientation. They have an excellent program called Ready to Soar that really trains our parents to be great advocates and mentors, as well as helping them become advocates to prepare their children for kindergarten, which is really most important. We know that kindergarten is one of the most important ages and developmental spans in human development. So I believe that this program is also a great addition to our parent cafe, and we would like to see that continue in East Chicago.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Mental Health America of Northwest Indiana, Ready to Soar program? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.11?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Smith. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.12, approval of MOU with Tradewinds Services, Inc. Dr. Mitchell.
Chairman, if I could just briefly on this one, there are three of these, 7.12, and the other ones are 7.16 and 7.18. I will state from the outset, we received these MOUs kind of at the last minute and without a scope of work attached. So I have not been able to properly complete a review of any of those three. If the board would prefer to table discussion on those until we've had a chance to see the scopes of work, I think it's something that we can resolve fairly easily, but obviously that's the prerogative of the board.
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'd like to table, you said 12, 13, and 14?
12, 16, and 18.
12, 16, and 18, yes, sorry.
12, 16, and 18.
Can you mind if I get a comment from the superintendent with regards to these? Okay, so we want to start, we got 12 we spoke with. Did you want to speak about
All right. Yes.
7.16 as well as 7.18?
Yes.
16, 17, and 18?
And, yeah, the Attorney Snow spoke of there not being a scope of work here. However, these organizations have been part of the Parent Cafe for a while, and when I saw that there wasn't a scope of work here, I did reach out to those organizations to get the scope of work. I can share that scope with you so we can move forward again, or you can table it, but that's going to be services that won't be rendered to our community because of
Do you
an
have,
oversight.
you have those?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so 7.12, the MOU with Tradewinds. Tradewinds, they're providing transitional services for our juniors and seniors with IEPs. We know that as our students get older, they go out, they graduate and go into the workforce, that's really a very, I'm going to say, it's a traumatic time, it's a milestone. And Tradewinds provide those transitional services for the students that include workplace placement, job training, soft skills training, as well as providing them with opportunities and workplaces for them that will hire them based on their IEP, so they're able to still be functioning citizens after graduation. This program is a wonderful program. I think that many folk in the community know who Tradewinds is, and their reputation is beyond reproach in most cases. I would like to see the school district continue this relationship with providing these transitional services for one of our most vulnerable populations, and that is those students with IEPs, leaving us going into the workplace.
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
I'd like to make a motion for approval, adding the scope of work that Dr. Mitchell presented. So I would assume that we'd have to, once again, do it underneath our,
If you want to just, yeah, you can give them, you can approve the contract pursuant to our standard form of MOU, and then I can revise it to incorporate.
yep. So if we could,
So motion made by Trustee Hernandez Orange.
yep, to,
Have we gave the audience an opportunity to speak or to comment
No,
on it?
I don't-
Okay,
I
so
did-
let's do that first. Is there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Tradewinds Services, Inc.? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve as amended? Since we do have the scope of work, but it's just not in our docket. So, so that would be an amendment, I guess. Is there any motion to approving item 7.12 as amended?
Mr. President, and maybe Attorney Snow can clarify, but this would be conditional approval, correct?
Oh, man, that's on. So, yes, this would be an approval, kind of the scope of work, of the scope of services that Tradewinds is providing. We would just revise it so that the form of the MOU is consistent with all the other ones that we're doing tonight, and provide that back to them to be the version that's actually executed.
Mr. President, I want to make a motion then to make a conditional approval of Tradewinds Services 7.12.
So you didn't like my amendment approval?
he wanted you to say conditional.
Oh, conditional, okay, sounds good. 7.12, approval of MOU with Tradewinds Services, Inc. as a conditional. This will be a board action, right? Did we make a motion already? We haven't made a motion on it, right?
No, because we got.
Okay, so motion made by Trustee Gomez, is there a second?
But Vanessa made a motion, didn't you? You did.
I did make the motion, but it didn't have the word conditional in there, so he's making the motion, and I will second that motion so we can move forward.
Okay. All right, any discussion on 7.12? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call. On the conditional.
Yes. Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes?
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.13, approval of MOU with United Way Northwest Indiana. Dr. Mitchell.
Of course, United Way is also one of our partners, and this particular program also benefits our Parent Cafe. In their scope of work, they're looking to provide the Level Up program, which is financial mobility program for working residents that are struggling to meet ends, and that's part of ALICE. Those are allocations for low-income folk. And so this is a real program that's really important because we have many people that's in our community that go to work every day, and one incident can cause them to lose their jobs or not have medicine or not have whatever. This program works with our parents that may fall into that category to provide some sort of safety net for them. Also, there's two other facets to this program where they have community resource services, which are advisors that provide services to our parents, or our students can also benefit from this, that will connect our community to those local services. And then the last one is Resource Roundup, which is an online social services directory that provides a directory for anyone in the community that's looking to find some type of assistance to help them meet their daily needs. Again, United Way is a international organization, and they've been a wonderful partner, and I would like to continue that wonderful partnership.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Tradewinds Services? Hearing none.
United Way.
No, this
I'm sorry, not, ooh,
United Way.
7.13, sorry about that. Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with United Way, Northwest Indiana? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board to approve item 7.13?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve 7.13.
Motion made by trustee Gomez, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.14, approval of MOU with Epiphany and Company Counseling Services. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, Epiphany and Company Counseling Services is an organization that's works with our high school as well as our parent cafe. And they provide a whole host of services from after-school STEM programming to behavior modification, emergency counseling, emotional support, animal access and documentation, mentoring, as well as several other things. We know that we live in a community that many of our residents are affected by trauma daily, and this particular organization works with the community to help them cope and manage that trauma that they face. This organization is very accessible through both Central High School as well as Kerry Gosh Parent Cafe.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Epiphany and Company Counseling Services? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.14?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Are there any discussions?
Mr. President,
Trustee Gomez.
just a housekeeping issue. In the first paragraph, entered into this 11th day of May, forget to change the date of that agreement, or that portion of the agreement. Read that, Attorney Snow.
Okay, so it's probably been swapped out already in board docs,
Okay.
but yes.
Are there any other discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.15, approval of MOU with Geminis Regional Care Group.
Yeah, Geminis is also one of our community partners, and with this particular MOU, and by the way, these MOUs are a continuation from previous years, and every year they have to be renewed. So they have to be voted on again. These are year to year. So Geminis is, this particular is a referral service, and with community partners, they refer for mentoring, parent education, crisis intervention, and provide limited financial assistance in those referrals. With this particular one, those individuals that are referred can't be justice involved. However, we have many organizations that do deal with those individuals that are justice involved. This is just another organization that that we work with to ensure that we have the right programs and services in our district to serve the population that we engage daily.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Geminis Regional Care Group? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 7.15?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve 7.15 with the change to the date on line 2.
Okay, motion made by trustee Gomez with the change. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.16, approval of MOU with Project Rebuild.
Yes, this is also one of those memorandum of understandings that Attorney Snow addressed that's not having a scope of work. I do have a scope of work here. I'll just give a little history about Project Rebuild. Project Rebuild is one of the other organizations that operate out of our parent cafe. Project Rebuild was born out of Truancy Court in Gary, Indiana, that has been extended to the rest of Lake County. Project Rebuild provides housing, counseling, debt services, and truancy services for students that are involved in truancy court and those parents. Really, many times, students are truant, they are show deviant behavior because of other things that's going on, and sometimes it's not necessarily with them, it's in the household. Project Rebuild aims to rebuild that house so that some of those things that happen will be less likely to happen because the child feels safe, secure, and they have options and choices. And it just gives them better choices by giving their parents opportunities to make better decisions.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Project Rebuild? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.16?
What about this date? Is something with this date too?
So on the ones, I'm sorry, there was a couple of these that, the ones that didn't have the scope of services, obviously I haven't reviewed and revised yet. So those will get switched out, and the dates will be corrected when we get the final form. There were a couple other ones, I think the Geminus being one of them, that were sent without contact information, and they were forwarded over to Diane, kind of, again, all this kind of happened, unfortunately, at the last minute. So a lot of these things have been resolved already. It's just that it's not necessarily showing up in board docs.
So is there a motion on the table with regards to item 7.16?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'd like to make a motion to add, or for approval of 6.16 contingent to having Attorney Snow have this document changed into our form, adding the scope.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
And I'm asking,
Second made by Trustee Gomez. Are there any discussions?
Mr. President,
Trustee Gomez?
just to be clear, then, page 7 says the services that this community partner will provide SEEC is blank. Is that the scope of services that
Yes.
you're referring to?
Okay.
Okay.
page 7.
Attorney Snow, did you answer that?
I did, yes. I'm having to share a microphone down here, but yes, the scope of services is always the last page of the MOUs. It's always an exhibit, and that is what we will need to incorporate. And then based on that, there are a couple different terms and conditions that sometimes get thrown in depending on the nature of services. So we'll just take a look of all of that, and we will get it over to them in our standard form.
Thank you. Any other discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.17, approval of MOU with Indiana Parenting Institute, Inc. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, Indiana Parent Institute is a longstanding organization here in the state of Indiana, primarily focusing in Lake, LaPorte, and Porter counties. They provide services free to parents. Many of the parents are young parents with services that include food, clothing, shelter, and they have parenting classes. And the great thing about the Parent Institute is that if you take advantage of any of their services, they have a mandatory participation in these parenting classes just to help them become better parents. This is also an organization that operates out of our Parent Cafe, and that's worthwhile in continuing that service here in the city of East Chicago.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Indiana Parenting Institute, Inc.? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.17?
Make a
Motion.
motion for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Smith, second by Trustee Gomez. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 7.18, approval of MOU with Top 20, Inc. Reciprocal.
Yes, Top 20 is one of another nonprofit organization here in the city of East Chicago. I believe we already have a MOU with them for services they provide at the high school and some of our elementary schools with mentoring and things like that with our students. However, this particular MOU directly is tied directly to their work with the Parent Cafe, where they use the Kerry Gosh facility to do recitals, dances, various things like that, and also engage the parents. This gives them a physical location that anyone can go to in the city to get information about their services, as well as see some of the demonstration that they're working with our students. I think this is a worthwhile organization, and the services they provide has changed many lives of our students in the school city.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of MOU with Top 20, Inc. recitals? We really would love for you to, so that we can hear you on the record. Yeah, we could take a mic to you.
Linda Randolph, 4437 Alder. I just wanted to say in regard to all of the agencies that come into Kerry Gosh to provide services for our community, it is awesome. During my administrative support at Kerry Gosh last year, I saw these agencies come in, I saw the parents come in with their little babies and stuff and crying and in need, and I observed Top 20 go into our preschool rooms and help our little people become little cooks. They had a lot of crock pot recipes, and they help the kids count and measure and do all kinds of things. So I just want to say to Dr. Mitchell and the board, thank you for bringing the community in to help our children and our families.
Are there any other comments from the audience with regards to the approval of Top 20, Inc. recitals? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.18? Trustee
Chairman.
Hernandez Orange.
I'd like to make approval of 7.18.
Motion made by Trustee Hernandez Orange for the approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Smith. Are there any discussion?
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
Dr. Mitchell, I'm just wondering, so I know that it says recitals, and I know we're allowing them to use the cafeteria for the recitals. So if it's after hours, they won't have to pay anything with this MOU? Is that how we're?
Well, I do have Leela here. For what they do with the Parent Cafe, I don't believe there's a charge. However, if they are using some of the facilities for various things, there's an arrangement that we have. Some things they pay, some things they don't. It just depends on what that activity is. This is really tied to the Parent Cafe that happens during the hours of operation of Parent Cafe.
Okay. And I just
And
say
there's no
that,
charge to us for them providing those
Right.
services.
I just want to make sure that we, again, let them know ahead of time. I don't want it to be that something, they have their plays at a different location, or even there after hours, and now the expectation is we want to charge them something, and there's nothing on paper saying that was going to happen, so that was all.
Any other discussion? I did have a question with regards to the certificate of insurance to Mr. Snow. Does the certificate of insurance that they provided on our last board meeting, would that be suffice for this particular, for these events or these recitals?
I'm not sure, because I don't know that I looked at what they were, you're referring to the other MOU they have where they were required to provide insurance?
Correct.
We would have to look at the short answer is we'd have to look at the terms of that insurance, probably. And I think that there's just a general requirement in these that they provide what's necessary to cover the to cover the services that are being provided and the things that they're doing in the building. But you know, without knowing what the terms of their insurance policy are, I couldn't tell you what's covered and what's not.
Are there any other discussions from the board? Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Hernandez.
Yes. 7.19, approval of contract with Epic Special Education Staffing. Dr. Mitchell?
Yes, thanks a lot. With this one, I don't want to chew this one up, so I'm going to ask Tammy Poe to step to the mic to explain this contract for us.
Good evening. Yes, this is a contract that was already approved and sent to Mr. Snow for an addendum. It's an updated addendum, change in name, I believe, and not many changes to the I don't believe there's changes to the terms of the contract. Yes.
I can speak to this a little bit as well. Originally, this came to us as a name change. I think the former provider was Therapy Travelers.
Yes.
Correct? And we've worked with them before. It takes the form of a master services agreement, which kind of governs all of the contractual relationships we have with each of their individual therapists or providers. And then there are what they call staffing confirmation agreements, I think, for each individual that kind of lay out the terms of the individual. So we do have one individual agreement that is already in place. But then when they sent over the name change, they also sent a copy of their master services agreement. And there were some things in there that I felt like conflicted with what we had already in place. So I actually sent them quite a few revisions to the master services agreement. A lot of them in the nature of just showing that what we have in our individual staffing agreement is what should control, because that's what we worked out first. And this particular contractor has been very receptive to the suggested changes that we've had to their agreements. So I think now, I think that what they actually told me at this point is the name change one is kind of irrelevant because it's covered in the master services agreement. But the master services agreement is in a form that I approve of. So I think now, and it refers to the individual agreement for Ms. Sievert that's already in place. So I think now, as long as we kind of stick to that setup with anybody that they send in the future, we'll be in good shape.
Yes, and she's our only individual from this company.
Are there any comments from the audience regarding the approval of contract with Epic Special Education Staffing? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 7.19?
Chairman, I make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gomez. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. Item 8, subcommittees. We'll start with policy. 8.01, trustee Gomez.
Mr. President, we will have those other policies in place and ready to go for the next board meeting. They have received a second review by the committee, trustee Gibson King and myself.
Okay.
And we're also going to add a new policy that Dr. Mitchell and I are working on with trustee Gibson King, and it's on the school enrollment policy. So we'll have that ready for reading at the next board meeting.
Okay,
That concludes my remarks.
thank you. 8.02, finance, trustee Gibson King.
Yes, and Mrs. Simmons, but we do have a meeting October the 2nd. Are we going to have that meeting with Mr. Dalton?
October the 2nd, we will be
Yeah.
actually voting on, so yeah, that'll be the last.
All righty. Item 9, interim superintendent remarks. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, thank you. Again, I never take anything for granted, so I do want to thank you all for all your continued support and prayers for me in the seat that I'm currently sitting in. But also, I just look at that we've had quite a time since our last board meeting. We've lost one of our proud Cardinals. We also had some wins and things like that. It's just that, we want to make sure that we take care of one another. And I'm going to keep saying that because there's a lot of people hurting. And if we don't do something about it, then who will? I saw a play a long time ago. It says that our young men are dying. They were talking about our black and brown men are dying and no one seems to care. Our community is dying and it seems like no one cares. I've been in East Chicago all of my life and lived in many different places. And I think that it's time that we step up and we continue to show that we care. There's many ways to do so, and the best way to do so is to make sure that we're looking out for one another's well-being. And that's not only the actions that we do, but also the words that we speak. And I think that as a whole, we're doing better. We got a long way to go. I'm doing better. I have a long way to go, so I don't point the finger at anyone without pointing at myself first. We also have a lot of people that's doing a lot of great work here in the district. I see the teachers here, I see some administrators here, community leaders, and I just want to say thank you for all that you do. I know that we went through that consent agenda, but there was several organizations from our student body that are doing fundraisers to raise money so that they can continue to do the good work that they do in school. So Ms. Slott, I say thank you, and all your peers, that all the work that you're doing to just make the life of a student that much better. We also have different organizations that were also part of donations that were not necessarily mentioned. I think that we should always call attention to those that help us, and so we want to thank Athletes and Charities. We want to thank the Steel Mill, BPM, all those individuals that have come to the table. I know that I can go on and on. I don't want to call any more names, but for those out there that's here, we don't take it for granted. We appreciate you, and we're very grateful for everything that you do to uplift our students in the district as well as provide services for our students, and your support means everything. And I'd just like to close by saying that we are in the beginning, the infancy stages of developing our strategic planning committee. I'm waiting on 1 or 2 more universities to come to the table. It looks like they're coming. As soon as we have that in place, then we'll begin to invite the community into the conversation to determine what we want our schools to look like and with the direction that we want our schools to go. Again, I don't think that should be something that's done just by the person that sits in this seat or the people that sit at this table. It's a community effort. And with the community effort, we can't do anything but succeed. So I would say to stay involved, stay engaged, and keep us all prayed up. Like I said, it takes everyone. And what happened this weekend, I had the opportunity to go to the funeral, and I was touched in so many ways. I couldn't compose myself. And they say that grown men don't cry. I had to cry. It wasn't necessarily because someone's life was being celebrated. It was the way that the life was celebrated and the lives that he touched as he lived the life that he lived in the short years that he was on this earth. If we all can do just a fraction of that, we would be that much better. And so I say that we all have dreams, we all have aspirations, but sometimes it takes one person to birth a dream, then it takes many more to realize that dream. And I say that there was dreams that were birthed, and now it's time for those dreams to be nurtured, for those dreams to be carried, and for those dreams to be implemented and executed, and it's going to take us to do it. So let's not crush one another's dreams. Let's help those dreams become a reality. And I thank you all.
our student body president, Ms. Lott, did you have any remarks you'd like to make? I want to pass her the mic.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I would just like to say that the school year at Central has gotten off to a great start. We had our homecoming game and we won, which is amazing. We sadly weren't able to have a pep rally, so that's something we're still looking into being able to do. And we would just like to ask for community support with a few of our upcoming fundraisers. The National Honor Society is selling breast cancer awareness shirts sometime soon. I think I'll have the information to share for that before the next board meeting. And the senior class is putting on a 4D movie night sometime in October. And a Sweetest Day sale as well. So, you know, a lot of exciting things, and we just like to ask for support and help from the community in making our year great. Thank you.
Now we get into trustee remarks, starting with trustee Smith.
Well, today I am going to say something. First of all, I'm glad to see you back. I forgot you were a student. I'm just waiting for you every board member, and I forgot you are a student. So, welcome back. I just wanted to touch upon what Interim Mitchell, Dr. Mitchell mentioned. This district, we've gone through some really difficult changes in the last couple of months, not just with administration, but with our children, losing some of our students. But I really want to tell you guys that it's been really difficult, and I want to commend you guys, or us, for coming together as a team, starting with the superintendent, the board, the administrative staff, staff members, principals, teachers, counselors, library board, community partnerships, Cardinal alumni, coaches, and ministers for your support, your prayers, and your monetary donations to the families during their time of need. You really don't have an idea that a card or $1 or $2, and I'm not just talking about this past service, I'm talking about from the babies that we've lost in the last couple of months. You don't understand that how touching it is for somebody to reach out and let you know, I might not have much, but I love you, and I'm going to give you what I have. And it's just very touching that we can come together for a tragedy, but we need to come together as a community and stay together as a community to display our love and our support throughout our community. And I don't know how to say this, but I just want you all to know that each and every child that we lost, they had a purpose, and the purpose might be for us to come together. They're leaving this earth was not in vain. It touched a lot of hearts. And it didn't matter what race, what creed, or color, it touched our community. So I just want to tell you, thank you. And if we could keep this up, not just because someone passes away or we have a tragedy, but if we can come together and just stick together as a community, we can do this. And I just wanted to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Trustee Gibson King.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I just want to make a brief comment to say that everything that I've heard from Mr. Mitchell, Mrs. Smith, and from the community Everything has a purpose, and I believe it's a good purpose as long as we stay focused on what the purpose is all about and stay prayed up. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
So to go with the theme of what everyone's talking tonight, and a very important thing in regards to mental health as well as just the social and emotional awareness. We now have a director of social emotional learning. So I think, Dr. Mitchell, thank you for getting that into our school district. I think we all have our own opinions as to what's needed and what's not needed, and you definitely hit a very important topic, and I hope that Dr. Yanders, oh, I'm not supposed to say name, sorry. I hope that it's not just solely for our children, but our staff are in that need also. So I want to make sure that, and I say this about the social workers and the counselors, they should be able to attend or have conversations with staff also, because it's all needed. It's hard to take on all that the children come and bring to us. So I hope that you're able to help them. So that's one thing. And I know last meeting, the athletic department kind of took a hit. So in my new position that I have, I was told that not only are you supposed to bring on corrective criticism, but you should also commend when needed. I went to a couple of games for the football team, as well as tennis, and tennis is doing a great job, per usual, Mr. Lane, and all his athletes. I haven't hit volleyball yet, but I did talk to cross-country kids. And one thing that they did tell me was that they like the fact of the new coaches who came in. They're young, they're energetic, inviting, and I know they are wanting to go work out at the beach. That's what they told me. So, but like them, they said that they hope to bring in more people. Like it's their job too, they said, and they wish they would have known ahead of time. So they also showed me what I thought was very cool. On their wrists, they had motivational quotes. And I don't want to quote it, but they said that it basically was show them. And he told me that it's important to show people who we are. And like he said, in cross country, do they really know us? No, but we're there. So I thought that was cool to hear one of our students come up with that themselves. That to me was inspirational. The homecoming, that's a great event, a community event, and I do need to recognize Diana Darden for bringing in the alumni to come to the event. That parking lot on the back end near the weight room, it was full of people. And I did go to the event the next week, and we didn't have that many, and probably because we were playing. But I hope that the alumni continue to come, because obviously you're around, right? So hopefully you'll continue to come and support to that, regardless if it's a homecoming or not. But just so we can have that continued support. And I think I mentioned to Dr. Mitchell and to Trustee Rodriguez about kind of giving recognition at a home game to Ms. Darden, because she's an alumni who brings us all together on multiple occasions, and you know, you got to give credit where credit's due. And I do know that when it comes to someone like that from the community, regardless if it's sports or education, she'll get people to come and support. So that's just one thing. The second thing is with the naming of the track and field. Now, we made an approval 3 years ago. And I have been asking for 3 years if we could have that lettering on our, because I've asked everyone from facilities to the CFO to the superintendents to have those names on the building. I personally know Coach Perez. He passed away, a soccer coach. He ended up he was a soccer coach from Washington. If I recall correctly, they said he was, I know he was at Central High School for many years. I know Coach Johnson, I think he still is the track coach now. But I say this because in the midst of all this happening, Coach Perez passed away. He wasn't able to see that up there. And we're still now 3 years afterwards, and it still has not happened. Fall season's around the corner, about to end. I would like to see this before this December, if possible. I've seen mock-ups, I've seen many things of this actual item, but it hasn't happened. I know it's small, probably minute, but give recognition when recognition's due. So I hope to see it before the end of fall. Soccer is in the fall, so that's his season. I have looked on the website to see on HR, to see what we have available.
Is it up?
I like to look at it. It's not up.
It ain't up, okay.
And I say that because a couple of reasons. One, we have multiple positions that are open, so obviously we need to have it up. The second reason is because, winter season is literally around the corner. And we need to make sure that we have those positions up and ready to go. The process has been started. I do know I was asked about one of the coaching positions, and I said, go apply online. And actually, that's how I started looking at the website. They told me that they could not. So if we could get that to work, I have been asking people to, I think, email you and Dr. Mitchell, just so they could have it. But if we're looking for people, then we should make sure to have that up. Also, as I was looking at it, I would love to see the change in the contract of our interim superintendent, and actually have our interim superintendent's name down as his position. We still have the former superintendent on there. So that's all.
Trustee Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a couple of items. One is, this weekend, there was a induction to the Chicago Sports Hall of Fame, and I believe there was about 10 people that were selected for that honor, so I'd like to congratulate all of them. And then I also, as you mentioned, Mr. President, had the fortune of going to the CUBE conference for the National School Board Association this past weekend. Devin Del Palacio, who is the former president of the Black School Board members, is actually going to be in town on Wednesday, so I invited him to join me and come to administration building to meet with Dr. Mitchell and some of our students. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. I'd like to first by starting out by giving my condolence again to the family. That Dr. Mitchell as well as Ms. Smith said it well in their comments. I also like to give my appreciation to the district who participated in the Mexican Independence Parade last week. It was fun walking with our superintendent as well as some of the administrators from Lincoln, Harrison, McKinley, and some of the other administrators I may have missed because they may have been in front of the line. In addition, I'd like to share with you some of the insights from a CUBE conference that I just attended last week, which was held in Chicago. I attended this one class, which I thought was really interesting to me, but has always been interesting, and that's the collection of data and how we are using data to help move equity, how we are identifying these individuals that we can put money on. And knowing that, we looked at, there's so many different areas in equity. And when we talk about, we know that kids are struggling. And some of these subgroups of the data that I've seen, like in iRead, IMath scores, We talk about attendance, the student behavior, misconducts, truancy. We've talked about many different areas, but what are we doing about it? You know, are we coming together to say, hey, especially with academics, if we notice that maybe our Hispanics and white kids are here, but then our black kids here, but our brown kids are here, so where are we putting the money at? I think Ice-T said it well. He basically said, why are you using your experienced teachers to handle gifted and talented students where they should be handling the worst, and putting your worst teachers to handle students that are struggling? Shouldn't it be the other way? So I think it's important for us to understand that. And I think, and believe it or not, when we talk about equity, we talk about ethnicity. We're talking about race. You know, we're talking about, believe it or not, we're talking about income. Because this institution is not based on just education alone. That's why I will always approve any teachers for raises, because I believe they're underpaid. Because not only do they handle what goes on with our state in terms of what they provide for them, but they do more than that, you know. And I think they're also counselors. They also, they try to reach into these kids' hearts in order to open their minds. But it's all about the equity. What are we doing about it? And I think that's a move that we do need to make in terms of understanding our equity based on all the data that we collect. 'Cause we collect a lot of data. And I believe if you guys come Wednesday, and I'm talking about this Wednesday, we have our schools in our workshops that we'll be presenting pretty much for all the schools in terms of their data and how the schools are moving forward. So I encourage each and every one of you to come here. If you have parents that have students that are attending our schools, have them come. See some of the programs that we are implementing and see some of the dollars of how we are balancing those dollars in those struggling kids. Okay, so I'm going to close it with this, and that is, it's an African proverb. If a child is not embraced by its village, he or she will burn it down just to feel the warmth. So that's I want to leave you with that. So it was a great conference, and I'm looking to see on Wednesday exactly how we are moving these kids forward, but also to see collectively on all the schools how we're bringing these dollars, because that's what our job is for. You tell us where you need the money at, you know, based on the data, and we're going to provide those funds for it. So, and that's what we're here for. That concludes my comment. I do like to also, again, mention that this Wednesday, October 4th, we're having a work session. So I encourage everyone to be here. And also the next, I'm sorry, not October 4th, the 20th, I'm sorry, the 20th of September. We're having our workshop for that. And the next date and time of our meeting, of our next regular meeting, is Monday, October 2nd, in this building. So at this time, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Oh, Dr.
Mr.
Mitchell.
President, we do have,
One second.
We do have
And
public
yeah,
forum.
there's just, there's just one thing that I would just like to share, right? Trustee Hernandez Orange did touch upon this, but One Church, One School provided every single one of our students in the district with motivational bracelets. So that's from pre-K to high school. They get the bracelet when they touch them. So we have, 4,000 plus students that have those bracelets. So, and they all have motivational, I mean, even from the little ones, they got the snap bracelets. Everyone else either get a color bracelet. High school all have the black bracelets with those things. I think that words matter, and we have to speak positive words, positive manner into our children's lives. But they have to speak it into their own life too. That's why I really love when One Church, One School came up with that idea to provide those bracelets. And so, again, thank you for your observation, and I know that it makes a difference. Yeah.
Thank you. Item 11, public forum. Attorney Snow.
Thank you. As always, public comments come up under this agenda item. If you wish to make a public comment, you may do so on any matter of public interest, I think, or relevance to the school board or its business. Does not have to be limited to any particular agenda item. You should have signed up prior to the meeting if you were going to make a comment. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes in length. And as participants, you are advised you may not speak more than once on any particular, well, you can only give your one comment in the public comment forum. Your comment should be directed to the board as a collective whole and not any individual members. And keep it civil, right? That's what I always say. I mean, rather than try to explain it.
Trustee Gomez?
Mr. President, first speaker would be Helen Steinbeck.
Thank you. Helen Steinbach, 5207 East 73rd Avenue. I'll make it fast, but I did want to talk about the approvals of all the MOUs for the Parent Cafe. I don't know if there's any way in the future, because we do it every year, if we can have those 10 items if they're returning supporters, if there's like a way you can do it like the consent agenda, because it would make things run a little bit more smoothly and not have the meeting last so long. And second of all, I was going to call attention to the fact that one of the trustees already brought up that our website doesn't show a link that works for job opportunities, and we have plenty of them. We have quite a few permanent subs teaching in one of our schools, and we need to get some teachers teaching in there. Although our permanent subs are valuable, we need actual emergency permit or certified teachers in those positions, and they can't apply for the job if the link doesn't work. Thank you.
Next speaker, Sherry Adams.
All right, again, our next, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say that concludes.
Sherry Adams, 443 East Chicago Avenue. I'll make this brief. I was encouraged sitting here listening to the closing remarks by Dr. Mitchell and Ms. Smith. So you've put my heart at peace for now. So I'll quickly say that a couple comments were made by the board concerning the fitness center. One comment was that where would funds come once the kids were gone and adults came in? The kids never go. They're always there. Been there for over 6 years. And I've left as late as 6:30 in the evening, and the kids are still there, which is how it should be, because it's theirs. When I walk in there getting out of the way of those kids, because it's theirs. If I walk to a machine and they're walking along with, you take it. It's theirs. My second quick comment is, excuse me, one of the trustees commented about not biting the hand that feeds us. You have to be mindful of what you're being fed. You may want to bite that hand. Thank you.
Mr. President, that concludes the amount of speakers for this evening.
Thank you, Trustee Gomez. Again, our next date and time,
I'm sorry, I came late, and I apologize for that, I didn't sign up. Is it okay to make a?
sure, state your name and address.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
I'm Pastor Dr. Antonio Daggett, pastor of Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church. The address is 3715 Butternut Street. Just wanted to ask a question about the GOB that was decided early. Wanted to know if the initial offering that's taken place, that's the generally obligated bonds, if the initial offering has taken place with that, and what is the rate that is being attached to those bonds?
Tonight, we approved the resolution for next year to go in to get a GO bond. Tonight's resolution was that anything that I pay out of the operation fund, I can reimburse it by the GO bond. So we have not went out for a GO bond exactly right now.
Okay, so you haven't submitted the initial for to identify? Okay, very good. All right, thank you so much.
All right, this is going to be the last one, because normally we have individuals put their name on the list. Just state your name and address one more time.
My name's Antonio Garcia, address is 4120 Hemlock. Again, I thank you for Superintendent Mitchell for, putting a foot forward on the whole fitness center situation. I didn't hear any timelines. I know there's a lot of organization stuff to do still there. As far as like grant money and stuff, I'm not sure how many emails, how many people we're reaching out for these grants. If all the board members could collectively hold each other accountable for that and just spread the word. If we need money for, for the grants to give these brothers jobs or, again, fix the fitness center, how many emails are we sending out? How many people are we reaching out to? And that's all I would like to know.
Our next date and time, again, is Monday, October 2nd, but don't forget, this Wednesday, September 20th, is our work session with all the school board, or all the school principals on addressing their schools and moving forward. And that's going to be at 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by trustee Smith. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
That's it.
Trustee Gibson King?
Patty Gibson King.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes, that concludes our business portion of the meeting. Thank you again. Whether you're in person or via live stream, thank you very much.